Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Insurance with Janet Smart Agency. I'm your host today, Lauren Guerin with Farmers Insurance. I have with me today our agency owner, Miss Janet Smart. Janet, how are you today?
Good, thank you.
Janet, today I have a very specific question. Why do insurance rates vary between different companies?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I do get that a lot. I like to say insurance quotes are kind of like a fingerprint because it's individual to you. And if you've ever had a quote from me, you've probably heard that because we take your individual information. It can depend on what cars you drive, the average driver age in the household, even the city that you live in can make a huge difference. One thing that we do when we run a quote, we, as well as many other companies out there, use an insurance score, which rates you based on your driving record, bill paying history, which has a little component for credit in there, but it's not a full-on credit score. It does actually get a snapshot of your credit history, like, do you use credit? Do you pay it off monthly? Do you not use any credit and they can't identify that? I've had older clients that pay cash for everything are, you would say, the best prospects available, and they don't get the preferred ratings because of that little piece of information where they can't see how they pay their bills every month. And so that does make a difference if there is not a credit card or a loan out there that maybe they're pulling in that information, and there's just not a lot of folks like that anymore that just pay for everything in full.
Right.
So there are also the factors of the cars. I remember one time I quoted a Maserati and it was so high. And one of the reasons that I found out why it was so high was because here in Arkansas, we did not have, or at the time, I don't know if we do now or not, we didn't have a dealer for Maseratis. So it would have been very hard to get the parts. And the parts could be coming, I think the closest dealership was in St. Louis at the time. And they were rating that factor as one of the most common reasons for why a Maserati was more expensive than, well, a Lexus. Another more of a luxury car, a Jaguar, things like that. But it definitely, it was really high and it really surprised me.
Difficult times remind me to take stock of what's most important. That's why I'm here for you and your family to discuss your insurance options and help you select coverage. With over 14 years of experience as a farmer's agent, I take pride in being able to help you protect the things that matter most. Call me, Janet Smart, at 870-793-5757 to learn more.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
That does make sense. Those risk factors and rating factors all play a huge role. And then on top of what you were saying about each individual person's driving record and stuff. So, yeah.
Well, and one other thing sometimes I don't have a solid answer as to why is my rate so high with you guys? Or, I may have customers that, they swear I am the cheapest, and then they bring in their cousin, brother, uncle, and we may be higher, and they may be surprised, and they're like, well, why were you so high with them? And it's that fingerprint. And I say that it's these actuarials. I talk about these people sitting in white lab coats, sitting behind a desk somewhere. They're scientists. They're really not wearing the white lab coats, but they are putting together that risk assignment and saying, an 18-year-old with a Camaro is a worse risk than an 18-year-old with a 25-year-old Chevy pickup truck, which, in my opinion, that 18-year-old's going to drive the same no matter what. They're just worried about, are they going to have to pay out on a brand new Camaro, or are they going to have to pay out on an old truck that doesn't have a value?
So it really is just like mathematical formulas almost. It
is.
This factor versus this factor, this one multiplied by this one equals more risk. Yeah.
Yes. And I don't want that job. I would tell people all day long, if you want to find the lowest rate, you can, but you have to put in the time and effort. And most importantly, really make sure that you're not skimping on coverage, because sometimes it can happen where you think, oh, well, I'm getting a much better rate. And lo and behold, when you get your policy back, you might realize, I don't have comprehensive and collision on this policy. And that's the true reason. I've actually had a customer come back to me because they were concerned about their rates. They went elsewhere, and then they immediately came back because they were sold a policy that didn't have comprehensive and collision. It wasn't like coverage. And that's really the hard part, to gain that information if we're not looking at your actual policy to determine the like comparison.
Gotcha. Well, what are some reasons why different agents may get different personal insurance quotes from the same carrier? Does that happen often?
It does. It can be how knowledgeable that agent is about the policy, what's available, marketing to certain people, but more importantly, knowing the discounts, asking those hard questions, and really getting to know the consumer versus just serving you up a Big Mac and say, oh, you want a quote? I'm going to give you a quote. It's really more involved than that. You really need to insure based on risk. And so our job is very important. So you may have one agent that says, they didn't say what they wanted. I'm just going to give them the state minimum liability and maybe peel away all the extra protections. But the other agent may say, oh, no, this is what I would want my cousin to have or my grandmother. And so I want them to have coverage like I would want for my own family. And so it can change based on just the agent and their experience and how they want to insure people.
That makes a lot of sense. Is there anything else we need to touch on this afternoon about that?
I will say that I did make the comment about if you can always find another insurance company, be careful, because as an agent, I feel like I give value. And one of the value parts that I can contribute is education about giving you the right coverage versus you calling a call center and getting, basic coverage without understanding what you have. Not only that, the claims experience, if you don't have an actual agent, you don't have someone to go to bat for you. And that is something that companies that have the agent model, and I'm not going to say any names, but there are companies out there that you call into a call center, you get a policy, and you deal with a different person every time. The value really can be just a couple dollars in having an agent that follows up with you, that checks in with you, make sure that you have the right coverage because they're willing to ask you the questions and they don't have 30 other people in queue waiting.
Of course. And that, brings me to a point, that is one of the factors that is considered when people are getting their rates is you are getting that agent. What is the cost of doing business with an agent versus just with that, call-in center.
And so you really don't know until you've checked around. Right. And there are times that I'll look at rates, and I've done everything I can. And I tell people, shop around, but I give them their exact coverage. And I say, don't skimp on coverage. Make sure they're giving you this amount. And, if they can get you taken care of, that's great. And I hope that they give you the same level of service that we did. But if we didn't, if if we lose that customer, we would love to be able to always have them back. And it does happen more times than I like to say. I do get customers back because they realize our agency has a better than average customer service, and we really do care about people being covered properly.
That's like you said, it's all about education, and I feel like we do that well here at Janet Smart Agency. So, is there anything else we need to touch on today?
Well, I know with the industry the way it is, we didn't talk about claims. Sometimes we do have rate increases, even though people say their vehicles are older. Why is my rate going up? I'm not getting any more money because my vehicle's older when there is a claim. But I also, you will hear me in the office say insurance is like a bucket. We all put money into that bucket, and when it's our turn, it pays out. But it has been record-setting years over the last 3 years with hail claims, wind claims, and so we are, as a company, trying to kind of take care of some of the risk in writing new business, maybe peeling away some of the California risks that we used to have, and we've actually stopped writing business in Florida because of the hurricane risks. But we do want to make sure that we're around as a company since 1928, Depression days, that we're still here. And so even in these trying times, there are some of these smaller companies that are going out of business. And we choose to, unfortunately, raise some rates, adjust everyone so that we're there for when those claims have to be paid out and not to be insolvent as a company.
That's right. Farmers was one of the only insurance agencies to start up a year before the Depression started, and they still survived and made it through to the household name they are today.
And I think we are worth it. We take care of our customers, and we have extraordinary claim services, in my opinion. I think we do a great job. So that's me tooting our little horn there.
Well, we appreciate you being with us today, and thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen. I hope you've learned something new about insurance. If you have any insurance needs, please contact us, Janet Smart Agency, at 870-793-5757. Janet Smart Agency, the smart choice for insurance.